have a pretty good idea about generational curses. And we, of course, can't bring people on the show, bring people into your area without knowing what they do. So we know what you do. Tell the world about yourself and what do you do?
My name's Arlancia Williams, and I am principal broker and founder of Platinum Trust Realty. I also, Platinum Trust Realty is a commercial and luxury real estate company. Here we cater to luxury clients, and I help new investors and seasoned investors purchase apartment buildings, and I managed a project for them. And let me see. I also own Williams Property Group with my husband. And with Williams Property Group, my husband and I, we have over 350 apartment units in Washington, D.C., and we own 6 houses in Maryland. I also own a hair salon, T's Hair Heaven, and I'm teaching my middle daughter how to be an entrepreneur. And my last thing, my biggest thing, I'm caregiver to my mom. My mom's very sick, so I managed to take care of her in between. Yes.
God bless. God bless. While you're teaching your kids, your daughter especially, to avoid corporate America if possible. Man, that's awesome.
Yes, because I hated it. I was there for about 20 years and I could not wait to get out of the door. My husband and I, we planted seeds early in life. So as they began to grow, we were both blessed to walk away from our jobs with 20 years. We did 20 years and it was rough. Yeah, it was rough.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that. And you know, that's just, we're glad that you're here because you can forward the blessings that God is giving you. You could forward it to other people and we can take it and forward it to others. So with that being said, General, you've 1 point today. You got the ball.
Oh, so it's, I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. I thought he was going to take the lead, but I'll take the lead.
Oh,
We like to have fun.
I'm your setup. I'm your setup guy. I set it up. Now you got it.
Okay, I have it. So our topic today is a wonderful topic that most people don't talk about unless they're in a setting where there is some intimacy between, and what I mean by intimacy, where it is really trust that they can confine in certain issues. We're talking about generational curses. And with generational curses, I heard an old saying that used to go like this, Ms. Williams. It says, if you look at an individual, or if an individual look at themselves, they can look down through the corridor of time through about 2 to 3 generations and see where that curse had started from and why people did not break it when they had an opportunity to. And so I'm going to let you tell us your part, but one of the significance, what woke you up to the generational curse? How did you get clued in on that?
Let me see, how far should I go back with my life? I was raised in a very unconventional household with a step parent. I didn't know my father. Like many of us, I did not know my father. I grew up calling my mother by her first name because that's what I was taught. And in school, I was always taught to, it was always offered, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a secretary. No one taught us how to be an entrepreneur in school. We had very limited choices. And my grandmother, especially, she was always timid of what to say. And you better get a job and you better not raise your voice. And, they didn't step out on faith. They just kind of, was in a rut, living from check to check. All, just check to check, never got anywhere. Some of my family never left home. They're still home. And I'm like, I've always wanted more growing up. I never dreamed of being a secretary or, a nurse or anything like that. I wanted to be rich. So me wanting to be rich, they didn't want to be rich. They looked at it, they talked about it, their way of becoming rich was playing the lottery and going to bingo and just getting ahead an extra paycheck. That was satisfying to them. But I wanted more, and I wanted my children to have more. So I based my career around the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And so I never saw myself being in the real estate. But in 2017, my mother had a major stroke. She went from being totally independent, working, and all of a sudden she had a stroke. And so I was working a 9-to-5 job, and they were very unfamily friendly. And so, you know, when the doctor said my mother would never return to her normal health, and as I dug into her life and I had to take over, she didn't set her life up properly to have Medicaid. You know, she was basically living check to check. I had to come in and just reorganize everything. Mm-hmm. So I moved her in with me, and I knew that, okay, you have to leave your job, right, and take care of your mother. She has a house. I didn't want to let the house go because it was a family house. So at her bedside, I decided to take a real estate exam. And I never saw myself becoming a landlord or a millionaire. I was just taking it just to get by, you know, and, you know, because I knew that I was going to have to be independent and take care of her. And so my first job at I think it was Bennett Realty, and they focused on investments and investors. So when I went to this investment group, my intentions were to maybe I can meet an investor and he'll let me, or he or she will let me, you know, list their properties or whatever. So when I got to the meeting, I saw people that looked just like me, no smarter, no better, and they're standing up talking about how much money that they made, and you know, and they passed the formula out. So I got a copy of the formula, and I'm looking at the formula, and it's only 4 sentences, and I'm like, okay, and I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, I got the formula. I'm gonna go try this. So I stepped out on faith. I went home the same day and got on the computer and found me a property. Because I got the formula right, and my husband, he's nervous because my husband, I used to tease him and call him a company man. He's nervous, like, you went to one class, and I'm like, yeah, because it's time for a change. I'm like, I got to get out of my job and maintain this lifestyle, and my mother, her medicine, I have to pay for all this. So I'm already in get ready, set, go mode. So I come home, I get on the computer, and I found me a property that fits the formula. And so I begged my husband if I could, you know, we can go over, and I wanted to try my first investment. So I went over, and he's still in my ear, like, you know, this is crazy. You know, you don't know what you're doing yet. I'm like, it's okay, because I got the formula. Just trust me. So we get over there, and there's a squatter. He doesn't open the door. So I looked at my husband. I'm like, I want to get in anyway. I don't need to see it, because, you know, I'm taking a very calculated risk based off of this formula. And so I wound up writing an offer, and I got it. And once I got it, then me and my husband sat down, and we figured out how we were going to fix this property up. And I bought that property for $187,000, and today it's worth over $750,000. But I didn't flip it. I kept it, and I rented it out for $3,200. And so I started making an extra maybe $1,200 a month off of that. And then from there, I went and got another one, and then we just started building. And so now we're making 80 times what I was making then per month. It's a lot, but you know, my family, they didn't take chances. They just fell in line, and I just didn't want to be like that. I wanted to pay footsteps that little girls can walk in, and I wanted my children and my grandchildren that I did not know to have more. And it was just like our family was cursed. Like, it's just literally, they would say River's luck. Every time something went wrong, oh, you know, that's River's luck. But it really wasn't River's luck. It was them not doing the work and trying, and, you know, they never, they didn't do extra. They did just enough. So I was always a hustler. And later on in life,
there it is.
yeah, I was born to hustle. I was born to hustle. And I can't really explain it because it's my vision. It's not nobody else's vision. I just knew that I wanted more. And so, you know, I just started sitting down, writing things out, what I wanted and how I can get it. And I always figured, like, if God showed it to me, he must want me to have it. Like, he didn't show it to me to tease me, because he's not going to tease me. Like, this is what I want. And since then, everything that I went after, I actually got. So, you know, my daughters are beginning to follow in my footsteps, and I have 2 stepsons. So, you know, I believe me and my husband have broken our generational curse because of real estate. Real estate creates generational wealth and residual income, where you know you made it when you don't work for your money. When your money starts working for you, then you made it. So, you know, we faithfully get those checks once a month, and it's been great. It's been really great. But there's a downside to that too. Like, if you're the only one in your family and you're doing, you know, a lot, sometimes you feel guilty of the ones you left behind. But if you know, it's a guilt, but sometimes they have like a sense of entitlement. But I'm here every day, and, you know, they can always come in. I'll show them what I do. It works, you know. And so,
well, I learned something a long time ago as I read the text in the Old Testament. Sometimes you need to lose a lot to move ahead. And everybody is not supposed to go with you in every season. Right. And that's what I learned. And in that, I hear in your generational transition, I like to call it transition. What I really understood from that was what Israel learns. Israel is taught to be transgenerational. That means that grandfather plants seed for that grandchild. And that's why they have bar mitzvahs. Those bar mitzvahs are to start the financial wealth part for that particular child. So by the time the child gets ready to even enter into college, he or she is being set on a predestination based off of their skill set of where they're going to go, so they won't have the financial woes that we have. I also say that I don't get too hard on us as a people, because we're coming from somewhere where others have not gone. We've been persecuted. We've been downtrodden. And if I must be brutally honest, we just got educated back in 1968. So we're playing catch up. So when we talk about financial as a whole, as a people, it becomes difficult. So with that, do you think your generation that you're putting seeds, not just your family, but what about others who are not part of your family?
Well, yeah, we have friends, and I have agents, and people are constantly coming to me. You know, they come in here, I sit down with them and tell them what they need, what they're going to have to do. Sometimes they're disciplined enough, and sometimes it has to be in them. Sometimes we make it look easy because they don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see all the sacrifices that was made. They just see Instagram, Rolls Royces. Oh, I want to do that. I can do that, you know. And I'm like, you know, all those nights that you were out partying and you were out, I was up with my pad and paper, and we were doing what we had to do. And it's a lot. It's a lot. Keeping the mortgages paid, making sure the bills are paid on time, and just, you know, just meeting inspectors all day. I mean, it's a lot. So people don't see that part, but I do offer my services, you know, to others. I feel like I have a responsibility to do so because someone helped me out, even going to the class. And so it's the same formula that I actually share. It's the exact same formula. Yeah.
Well, before I launch in, Tobie, would you like to say anything?
All I can say is I'm taking notes of everything that she's saying. because I'm definitely going to take a page out of her playbook. Because my family and I, we're on the verge of going through a very positive change in our lives now, and I need the extra tools. So, Miss Arlancia, I'm grateful that you're here today, because we're not here just to do an interview. We're here to learn from each other, learn from you, and how we can take this and apply it or make it applicable to other men out there. Men out there who are leading their families. We could take a page from your playbook. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what gender, male, female, it don't matter. I used to tell people, my fiance, soon to be wife, she's very smart. She's smarter than me in a lot of things. And you know what? I'm not ashamed or intimidated by it. You know why? Because it's a chance for me to learn. Okay, she learns from me too, but I learn more from her, because there's a lot. Like, honey, I didn't even look at it from that perspective. You are right. Because the spouses see things that you don't see.
Absolutely.
And they see things that you see, if that makes sense. So I'm really excited. I just wanted to make a comment. I don't have a question now, but it's coming. So, General, you still on point. You got the ball.
Okay. So it sounds like Miss Williams, he's gonna go offline and call you and set that appointment up.
You absolutely can. I tell people you can't change your past, right? You can't rewrite your past. But every day you wake up, you got a clean sheet of paper. You can definitely write your future. You just have to.
You can't put toothpaste back in the tube. Once it's out, it's out.
I don't know. There's some people trying, Tobie. There's some people trying. But it sounds like Miss Williams is living that principle, as I like to call that Romans 12:2 principle about renewing your mind. Because before you can get to a generational curse, you have to understand a mindset. And mindsets are very important. There are people who, I like to say, they have a love for money, and they can be smart and be very institutionalized. But there's one thing. If you don't have the right spirit, eventually that has become your God, and you're about to go down with it.
Yeah.
I always like to say, if you don't have that Romans 12:2 concept about renewing your mind, it is hard to get off that track, because the human mind is like a program of a computer. You put so much in, and that's what it knows, and that's how it's going to operate. I even told someone once, I said, I did not know until I read something about the 5-second rule. If you do not operate a change within 5 seconds that you want to make, the mind will automatically default and find a reason why not to do what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so it's so hard to break it. And then two, my other real thing is, who came beside you and consistently, I heard about your husband a little bit, and he was a little bit apprehensive, but who was that person that was in your ear and says, hey, you can make it, Miss Williams. I got confidence in you. You're going down the right track. And I know that it's not just a one-time thing, but it had some consistency of someone that constantly was there to build up your confidence in this new era that you've never been before. Actually,
General, it wasn't. It was me. I'm very self-motivated. And I've been telling myself, I only stayed at my job because my husband had that mindset. And I wanted to leave a long time ago. I'm like, no, we can do this. So I've already had this plan, but, we balance each other out. We definitely balance each other out. But one thing that I'm learning while breaking the generational curse, I can recreate it really easy, because sometimes as parents, once we make it, we start spoiling our children, and they know they don't have to work for it, and they can easily mess it all up if they're not as disciplined and you don't show them how to keep it going. And my husband always say, if you got more money going out than coming in, it's just a matter of time. So yeah, we want them to have nice things, but just try, because they don't see, they just see, mommy, daddy has it, we get to drive this, we can do this. And today's generation is, we gotta take time and train them. Yes.
I have a question along those lines. I knew my questions were going to start popping up. My question to you is, how do you balance? Because I'm a victim of that too. You know, I care for my daughters. I have 4. You know, between me and my fiance, we have 4 girls. How do you balance? Because I can tell how disciplined you and your husband are. Because if you were not disciplined, you would not be where you are today.
Yes.
So how do you balance the how can I put this? I'm trying to articulate this. How do you balance enabling the kids but try to keep them focused at the same time of what is at hand? Because you are building a legacy for your children when we're gone, when you're gone. We're building a legacy. So how do you balance that and to remind them about, okay, y'all got this, y'all got that, but y'all still got to keep, y'all still have to work and not depend on your parents to avoid the generational curse, because you put a stop to it. Obviously, you put a stop to it. So how do you keep that going and balancing that out?
We made plenty of mistakes. We made the mistakes of, you know, we got it. It's okay to share it, you know, because real estate is just going to keep generating income down the line. We made a lot of mistakes with our children, and they've gotten spoiled. So now we're just starting to make them come out and see what it is that we do. My stepson, he goes over and he cleans, and he kind of shadows his dad, and, you know, just to see everything and just teach them the business. So we're getting there. We're not totally there, but we're definitely getting there. And just because you got your hand out don't mean something's going to go in there. Just teaching them to be grateful, to have what they have now, and it could easily be gone if we make a mistake. So we actually had to slow down in our spending because they're watching us. They like, oh, they got a Rolls Royce. I want a Rolls Royce. Like, you haven't earned a Rolls Royce. You haven't even really earned the. No, we're going to give it to you because we don't want you to struggle. And it's hard raising little girls into women because, you know, we're just setting a bar for them to whoever comes along. You know what I mean? And it's kind of, you know, at first my husband's like, you know, the boys, we're going to leave everything to the, you know, he doesn't want men to date our daughters just because they see what we have, because you can easily lose everything easily. So we're working on it. We are definitely working on it. Hopefully they're watching us. They're not watching us stressed out, but, you know, I try to tell them, I try to teach my daughter how to keep her credit straight, because no one taught me how to keep my credit straight. They didn't teach that in school, because it's so easy to mess your credit up. Even though you have money, you don't want to use your own money. You want to use the bank's money and keep your money. So you still need credit.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you set it up. It looks like, to summarize your response, it appears that it's important to have the kids engaged in how you made it to where you are. If that makes sense. You keeping them engaged. I think you just said that your stepson helps clean, and he watches his father. Yeah, that's how things come apart. Maybe listen to a couple of business calls or stuff like that. So basically, a remedy to that is to keep them engaged in what you're doing, to see how the money that the earnings that you have, how it's made. It's not just by handout. You got to go get it. They go to closing. Sometimes they go to settlements. Okay. They see their friends' parents not having quite as much, because we tend to, when you start gaining, you don't want to lose your friends, so you're still around them so they can see they're not crazy. They see that they're living a different lifestyle than others. Yeah. Okay. Yep. General, back to you.
Well, I always I had learned a valuable lesson when it came to a vehicle for my oldest child. And one of the things I learned was we gave her a car for college, and she didn't appreciate it. and she let people drive it, and eventually the car broke down. And I learned a valuable lesson about giving something from that one. So the next ones that we had, what I did was I told my wife, I said, there's going to have to be some sweat equity in here. Yep. I said, because I'll be doggone if I'm going to go to work and then give you a car that you and Hootie and the Blowfish and everybody else around there driving around having a good time. It ain't going down like that. So what I did was I said, during the summertime and their work, I'm making them put half of their money away. I make sure they pay their tithes. And then the rest of the money, right, after they pay themselves, then you can spend. But I need you to save first. I said, after then, when it's time to go back to school, I said, I will go to the auction, I will get the car. I said, because now I will take half the money that you worked so hard for to put into a vehicle that you want, and you will learn to appreciate it. Because then you will ask your friend, you start asking your friend for some gas money when they want a free drive somewhere. I said, then you'll start appreciating about those oil changes and everything else, the window shield wipers and new tires and all that. And I learned something from that one incident, that if you do not have them put any equity in whatever they're doing, including college, then they will have a mindset that mom and dad have, and it's okay to take from them because they have the resources and they love me. And that's what I call the, love abuse. You take my love and you abuse it because you didn't have to work and you didn't come from the side of the tracks I came from. Because my parents didn't, it wasn't going down like that. If you wanted something, you had to earn it.
Yeah, earn it.
And they said, when you earn it, you will appreciate it. My thing is with generational curses is, when I look back at some of the curses, I look back through generations, how they learned, and it was a different time set. But I also learned that, was they willing to go that extra mile like you were, Miss Williams? It's right. Like, I see, I know there, I might can't see further, but if you have in your heart that I know that there's more out there for me, then I can go and travel outside my boundaries where I'm at. Because most people, if you did the statistics and looked around, they don't like to get out of their circumference zone of where they live. Yeah. It's hard for people to transition from a different state of mind, or even leave a state, or be like Tobie, leave a whole nother country of all that he knew to come to another country to prosper in more ways than one. And being spiritually prosperous is different than being financially prosperous. And I hear enough about church prosperity different than spiritual prosperity. And there's a lack there. And if you really want to, I'm going to shift gears, and I'm going to talk about that kind of curse, because we don't like to get into that, because most people are like, oh, I'm I broke that generational curse, and I got this and I got that. And inside, they're spiritually bankrupt. And so were their parents and the parents before them. You can sacrifice and get some financial gain, but that does not mean that you're spiritually gaining, right? And then I find that a lot of children do not reciprocate. I said this to Tobie one time, I think. I said, it is funny to me, most great people do not have children that are great like they are. They don't.
Yeah.
I'm serious. They really don't.
You did.
The great athletes, the great singers, anybody who massed to the top of their field normally do not have children that can reciprocate exactly what they have done. Or
Michael Jordan. Jordan is an example.
There's a whole lot of famous.
The one that popped out of my head was Jordan, because there's so much pressure with those kids. Even Michael had said it. He didn't want the kids to go to where he went. Well, I think one or two of them went into basketball.
But Tobie, hold on. I'm not talking about just because you have the ability. See, there can be people who have ability and spiritually, I gotta go back to say, be bankrupt and do not know who they are. I tell you, worldwide, some of the countries I've been to, there's an identity crisis. Because I see Miss Williams do it, people's like, oh, I would love to do that. I think I'll be good at that. And then come to find out, yeah, you can gain, but you can be bankrupt inside and still not be, and be morally like just corrupt. Because then they would go after a God of material wealth.
Right. My parents, I will use as an example. Okay. Growing up as a kid, I have seen my mama have secret bank accounts that my daddy don't know about. I'm like, Mom, don't you think daddy should know? I don't need to tell him. You know why? Because if I tell him, he's going to take the money and use it and spend it on another woman. And I'm like, okay, but you can still monitor your money, Mama. You can still monitor your money. Let him know, okay, I have another account, but we're using it for this. No, I will not do that because I don't trust your father. So I'm like, that's my mom. I've seen it on the flip side. Yeah. My dad will have money, hide money around the house where my mom won't see. No, I don't want your mama to see this because she sees now she will take the money and go and buy clothes with it. And buy clothes and buy shoes with it for herself, not thinking about me. That's my parents. And this has been going down from generations because my grandfather did it with his 2 wives. Okay, my grandfather was so old school. My grandfather did it. My grandmother did it. Okay, they did it. They hide money, but then there was no banks really that much at the time, so they hide it in different places and stuff, and they don't tell their spouses. Now, fast forward 2023. I'm in a relationship now where we're on the edge of getting married now, and we made a vow. We don't hide money from each other. If I'm keeping the money, there's a reason why. There's a reason why, and I'm going to tell you why. But if you want that money, I will let you know, honey. This is the ramifications of what's going to happen if you do this now. I'm more of a forecaster. I think ahead. Like, okay, if something breaks or something goes out, the car breaks down and it costs $1,000 to fix it. Here's $1,000. Honey, this is why we save money. This is why we're saving the money. This is why we save. See,
so your money language is you're a saver, and her money language is a spender. Yeah, she'll probably drop kick me when she catch me when she hear this. But yeah, I guess it's safe to say. It's safe to say. It's safe to say. But when she spends, the crazy part is she's more of an economizer. She knows how to economize it. Economize, okay. She makes sense with it, even though it's now, is a spender and she wants it now. She knows how to use it right. But I'm more of a I think down the line. If something croaks right now and something happens right now, if the general said, Tobie, I need $1,500. Can you loan me $1,500? Here you go, brother. Or if someone says, or the car's broken or something major happened in the house, we got the money for it. Boom. Ease, no pressure or anything. So I learned from my past generations, Miss Arlancia, I learned from my past generations not to bring it into my life or my generation right now. So I guess it's safe to say that I broke one curse to a certain extent. To a certain extent, not totally, but to a certain extent. Some things no, okay, I'm not going to do this in my marriage because I see how mom and dad, how they run things in the house. So I'm not going to do that. I see how my grandfather taught my daddy how, okay, you don't tell your wife everything. You don't. And I'm like, okay, so how's a marriage supposed to work if you don't tell them everything? Even if it's right or wrong, at least inform them. So I've learned from my past that I don't want, even in my previous marriage. This is my second, and knock on wood by the grace of God, my last marriage. I'm not going, I'm not going to do what has happened in my past. I'm not bringing it in this one.
because what I have right now, and hopefully for till eternity, is something special. So I'm like, I'm not bringing it in here. New.
Okay, Tobie, but
Yeah,
I have a question.
Bring it. I'm ready for it. Bring it.
In generational curses, is there something from your past that you still do that you knew that was a curse back then that you're still working on now? And if so, is your significant other aware and helping you?
Yeah. I don't know how to say no. We've had this conversation before. I don't know. My family knows how to take advantage of me. I don't know how to say no.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah. And thank God for my fiance. She's telling me just because you say no doesn't mean you're a bad person.
True.
So my fiance is helping me curb that behavior because my father was also the same way. My father would rather be broke, but the people you take care of, you'd rather see them happy. That was my dad.
What about your children? Because I see that
daughters?
A lot of times it's the parents are strong enough to withstand, but I see a different generation. I see a generation that one, as the Rick would say, that don't know your God, and two, has the propensity of letting others influence them, and three, the enemy disguises to manipulate to go back to the past what they know. Was that too much?
No, it's not far.
Go ahead, Miss Williams. I think you got something that you want to say.
Miss Williams, she's about to drop something. Come on.
No, I mean, I think all the older generations would say, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. But it didn't do any good. It didn't do any good for them. They were still in the same situation. And one thing with my family, it's not always from both parents, because you can come from a family where you don't stay married and they're teaching the young women, you don't have to be married. You could do this by yourself. I raised my kids by that, that can go on too. So I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to do something different and make it work. And, I'm not, how can I put this? I'm not trying to pass on traits to my children. My grandmother, she believed that it was okay for your husband to act violent. Like, she thought it was okay. Like, this is normal. I'm like, no, it's not normal. It's just something what goes on in the house, stays in the house, a lot of stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Not me. No. So that's one thing that I broke. I don't want to take that mentality down to my children. I don't want my daughters to feel like they're incomplete if they don't have a husband, but I'm not teaching them that you can just do it. I don't think this life is meant to live alone. I don't think it's meant to do it alone. It's hard out here. So
oh, it's hard out here.
Yes, it is.
Well, for all that is said, it's hard. But why is a generation that don't know God has a dependency upon people who can't even really sustain themselves? But I'm finding that generation does have the propensity to go back to where you left from, to do some of those things that you broke. And they seem to be not as strong, as I go back to say, like you, right? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying that we saw our parents struggle. Today's generation, they're not really seeing the struggle because we're so busy trying to give them what we didn't have. And we were forced to go to church. And, we had to go to church. So now we're like, I'll get there, but we don't stress it and press it upon them to go. Like, they didn't really see. And not to say we didn't struggle, but we had a little more than what our parents had. And so.
Right. So
yeah.
With that, if we have a little bit more, at the end of the day, it concerns me about the next generation. I love what was said by the I think it was King David to serve his generation. And when he got to his son, he prepared the next generation. And I think that in all that we do, that's what we really need to do. I heard someone best say it this way, experience is costly. And since you already paid your price for your experience,
Yeah.
the next generation shouldn't have to pay that, right? So we give you, you can leap ahead and not have to suffer in ignorance. And what I mean by ignorance, that means to be really, you're unaware because no one informed you, no one told you that without certain information, without certain things, you can't go and do certain things or make it to where you're trying to go. So I think the hardest part with generational curses, I go back to say that Romans 12:2 is probably one of the most pivotal points for living in the 21st century about renewing your mind. Because if your mind can't get renewed, you're not going to really, you're going to be still stuck in the same circle that you've been in with the same, right? You're going to be with the same friends who was borrowing money from Tobie, asking for that $20 back to put in the gas tank. Talking about it's a struggle. I'm great, start a new job. Where you starting at? This new fast food restaurant. Yep. You're like, I need a ride. My bus pass ain't no good. And Tobie done spent his money and the lights can ready to get turned out. So I'm just saying, if you don't have a mindset, and that's my thing with this next generation of preparing them, that we have, the Lord God has allowed us to not only live, and for some, and not all, but live life more abundantly right now and in the afterlife, but to prepare ourselves and prepare the next generation to tell them, hey, you more than you need me, you need him. And without him, you think you got it going on because you got some resources.
Yep.
But if you didn't read that Bible and see some of them things in the Old Testament, I mean, it was Tobie. I mean, I'm reading some stuff. I'm even reading Psalms, and some of the things that King David said, he was like, let my enemies and his children, and he was just going down the line. I was like, whoo, that's crucial.
Yeah.
And he says, this is the reason why they have did this to the poor, and they have did this and that and that. But to get back on track about curses, it just makes me wonder, where are we as a people to help the next generation to break theirs? And how do we prepare them to know or to be able to see down through the corridors of time? Because we all got stories about our parents. And especially, Tobie, we talked about how we, the whoopings we've taken, they were crucial. They weren't whoopings. They were more like the social service abuse.
I wear glasses today,
got locked up for those kind of beatings.
I wear glasses today because of my father. I probably would have worn glasses a lot more later in life, but I started wearing glasses before I was 16. I wear glasses because of my father, because of the whoopings I got. So my glasses for a long time played a reminder. African folks, Miss Williams, I know you're looking at me, but African folks, especially Nigerians, they don't play. The way we were raised is considered child abuse here in America. God bless my father's soul. My father say that is why in America, all those children, they get away with everything. That can't happen here, not in Africa.
It's a fine line.
There's a fine line.
Fine line, though, between love and abuse. I've never gotten a whipping, but I've never gotten a whipping. I've been a good girl, soft-spoken.
That was my sister. My sister got away with it. My brothers, we got the whoopings. My sister.
It's funny. I could, I wasn't restricted growing up where I could go. My father, he was different kind of father. So, yeah, I could do anything, but I chose not to. I chose to go to school, do my work, graduate, honor roll, and do good in life. So I'm never with my children. I've never gotten a whipping, but I was traumatized because I saw some people growing up. It traumatized me the way they were getting whipped, abused. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't imagine. I don't wear glasses.
My father apologized.
But most people who that happened to, they will do it. They just won't be as normally. They won't be as rough as originally how they received theirs. But at the same time, they're looking at it like I did not understand until I heard someone says, "Let me tell you the reason why they were so hard." Because back then, with lynching and the mistreatment and people dying so young in their 40s, 50s, 60s, some of them who made it, they didn't want to leave their children by themselves. And they had to, you didn't know if anybody was going to take in your children. And so they had to be strong enough to make sure that they stayed safe and listen so they can stay alive. And I said, oh, I can see how that made sense back then, because you would really, they tell us stories about the uncle or somebody being lynched or something like that, or being abused and crippled or taken advantage of. And I can see that. But at the same time, I can also see this. There is a thing that is called abuse and mistreatment. And the Bible does talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about how we should treat one another in brotherly love. And that's where we get confused at.
Yeah.
But in curses, we didn't even discuss. Normally, I'm pretty good at that, discussing what is the meaning of curses or a generational curse and why is it important, Tobie? Or Miss Williams can ask. I'll say he's laughing now. That means Tobie didn't do his homework.
No, I did my homework. A curse, when everyone says a curse, people think a curse is a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. A curse is when something becomes habituous. When something becomes habituous, it could be anything. It could be anything on earth. And something that's habituous can also be a trait that goes on, something that maybe I saw my father do or my mama did, and it's normal, it's okay, because my mom and dad did it and nothing happened, nobody died, the skies didn't fall. And then I have a kid, and my children are doing the exact same thing because they've seen me do it, or they've seen me say it, or do something. That's what a curse is. The curse can be good, or it can be bad. The gift, they say it's the gift and the curse. It's a gift and a curse at the same time. So, from my perspective, that's how I see what a curse is. See, you didn't think I was ready, did you, James? I
think I don't believe in generational curses. That's probably why I broke it, because if you believe it, you're gonna live it. If you believe you can't do more than your parents did, that's exactly what you're gonna do. I believe that the curse is the behavior that you carry on, like Tobie said, that you've seen. My family, they love to gamble, and sometimes it's how they pay their bills. Like, I gotta go play the number because we gotta pay. I'm like, I'm not gonna gamble with the bill money. So I just think it's just behavior that just continues to go on.
Yeah.
And
the behavior is habitual, the habit.
Right.
Which is in the family is deemed normal. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So I agree with you. I agree with you. Gambling money because you don't have the money to pay the bill. You rob Peter to pay Paul. Yeah. You rob Peter to pay Paul so you can pay this bill, and then you owe Paul later on, and the back and forth. And as kids get older,
they do this thing.
Right. Kids who think it's normal, it's okay.
Not.
It's okay. Or you have parents who don't know how to manage money.
Mm-hmm.
You have parents who don't know how to manage money. And that filters down to the children, where you give children a certain amount of money and within 48 hours, they've blown it. Like, that's a lot of money that you blew. What did you spend the money for? And I'm pretty sure it's irrelevant what you spent the money on. It's irrelevant. So they don't know the value of money. So if the parents don't know the value of money, guess what? It's a habit. Guess what? We deem it a curse. And guess who inherits it? The children.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid they have children. They don't know how to take care of the kid or get the money to take care of the kid. So it filters down. It goes down and down and down. It goes down. So
I see it a lot with families that are using, living off government money and
mm-hmm.
have another child so they can increase their pay. And they, for some reason, think that, I'll just have another kids, I get a bigger check. And then, those kids go on and, live the same way and they get a voucher and it just continues on. And
I have a question for you. From your perspective, from your thoughts and everything that you've been through, and I'm asking this question on behalf of viewers out there who's watching the show. What would you do or what would you recommend for men like us? It's the name of our show, Mind of a Man. For a man's perspective or a head of a household. Let me put it at that, because head of a household could be a woman, it could be a man, it doesn't matter.
mm-hmm.
What would you recommend going forward?
Depending on where they already are, if they want more for their families, I would suggest getting a budget and just planning on your next move, sticking to it, make your sacrifices. I always recommend real estate. It's the quickest way to get rich. I would say, just talk to your children about money, credit, be upfront. And that's pretty much what I say. I'm the head of my house, like what I say.
General?
Yeah, he comes home, he's like, what you think I should do? I'm like, let's do it. You think we should do? I say, yeah, let's do it. Because if the list of what do we have to lose is smaller than what you have to gain, then I'm going to go on the gain side of the list, right? So you're supposed to replace your fear with faith. So let's put it through the test. Let's do it. Yep.
That sounds good. that sounds good until they have to do it. But
if you don't do it, that's called staying in your comfort zone. If you're doing the same thing every day and expecting something different, no, you got to do something different to get something different. You got to do something more to make more. You cannot keep doing the same thing and go home and look at your bank account and it's not growing because you're not making it grow. It's not going to grow by itself.
That's true.
I always say one of my favorite sayings is God doesn't move obstacles for those he gave the ability to climb. And just because it's something in the way, you have to learn how to go around it.
Repeat that. We need we got to get a bell on the show. When we hear something like that, we hit the bell. Hit the bell. Oh, please repeat that.
Oh, I said, God does not move obstacles for those he gave the ability to climb. So just because it's not right in your reach doesn't mean you can't get it. You just have to figure out how to get there and reap the rewards. And the rewards, speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. There's more to this. Ms. Williams, there's more to this. And we want to officially ask you, can you come back next week? Same time.
I will.
Because I know you're a busy woman. You're closing homes here and there, and helping other people, whatnot. Can you give us same time? Can you give us same time next week?
Okay.
We could have a part 2.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because next week you're the one that's going to give us more on helping us on how you succeeded with generational curses. Of course, with the general in mind, because I know General's going to come in locked and loaded even more next week. Yep. Yep.
Don't forget to call Tobie when you offline now, so you can set your appointment with Miss Williams.
Oh,
Anytime.
hey, I probably will.
You can fly down and hang out with me and my husband. We'll show you.
Yep.
Yeah, virtual.
So, Ms. Williams, where can you be reached? How can people who are watching the show, how can you be reached and where?
I could be reached. My website is www.Platt Realty. That's PLAT as in Tom, T as in Tom, RUST Realty.com. Also, my Instagram page is Platinum Trust Realty and Arlancia Williams _mogul. And my office number is 240-764-5282.
I'm about to get down like I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna call.
You can call my personal number, but I'm not gonna put that out here.
Just kidding. Yep. But thank you so much for that. General, close us out.
Okay. Well, we want to say thank you to Miss Williams, first of all. Thank you to all of you who view us here at Mind of a Man. Thank you to Courtney Clark, Clark TV, C3. But most of all, we want to say thank you to our viewers, and thanks to God first and foremost, because without him, we wouldn't be able to breathe or anything else for that matter. As we leave this show, we're going to ask you to do as Miss Williams said, broaden your horizon, think outside the box. I have a saying that I use, don't think that you are, know that you are. As you leave, know that you have that capability and believe in yourself and walk in it. Until we're here next week again, we say God bless, safe travels wherever you are, Godspeed. Please be safe, take care, and do something and say something kind to someone this week, please.
And hug
Take
someone.
care, and God bless all.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.